Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, friends and family from around the world, to the Energetic Life Now show. I am your host, Eric Stenlake, and we are so glad that you've decided to join us today. Whether you're catching this show first time live or you're watching a replay, we just want to extend a very, very warm welcome from our family to yours. Today's show is being broadcast on the Spanglish World and Her Networks on Zingo TV, channel 250 and 251. If you don't have the Zingo TV app, please go ahead and download it to your iOS and Android devices. It is free, and when you download it, please go ahead and give us a like and a comment. We would really appreciate that. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Hey, friends and fam, listen, it's been a hot minute. We've had some things going on this summer, but we are back and ready to rock and roll, and so glad you are here. And as always, you know how I roll. I only bring the best of the best to the best of the world, and that is no different today with our very, very special guest, Marquelle Brown. Marquelle, welcome to the Energetic Life Now show. How's it going? What's shaking?
I'm doing really great, Eric. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. It's an honor to have you here. Marquelle is a dear friend of mine from the Neuroencoding Institute, and she's an amazing, amazing coach. And we are going to dive into some really fun stuff today, of which we are going to learn from Marquelle as she drops her nuggets of wisdom upon us all. It's going to be fantastic. So, first of all, Marquelle, give us a little bit of background about yourself. A little bit about what you're doing, your business, and all the good fun related.
All right. So I'm a nutritionist. I'm also a betrayal trauma coach, also a life and relationship coach, a neuroencoding specialist, brain health specialist. So I like to tie all of that in together. I'm also a mom of 6 fabulous children. So we have 5 daughters and 1 son, and my husband's an engineer. And so I really like helping people to be able to bridge the gap, to be able to go from where they are to where they want to be, and how to navigate all the different roadblocks and challenges and the stuff that's in their head. I like to help them to rise above the noise so they can see clearly and navigate all of those automatic negative thoughts, those intrusive thoughts, the lies.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Marquelle. I know you also, within your fun, you work with a lot of families and teens, and you really have a broad spectrum of folks of which that you serve. And I love that about you. And today, no different, folks, because we are going to jump into something that is near and dear to both of our hearts. And we're titling this episode here, "Parenting in Purpose." And you know what I love about that title is it's not just related to parenting. This can touch your life in many, many different ways, of which you can adapt to whatever it is that you need to do, want to do, how to live in purpose. So keep that in mind as you're listening to this today. Because you guys know from me that I'm a family success coach, and I work with teens, young adults, and families, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful space to be in, and having just a blast this summer working with so many fun people, which is great because as I'm not in the classroom right now, I get to spend my days doing all this fun, and I love it. So let's jump in, Marquelle, if we will, talking about parenting in purpose. And the first purpose here is really to discover what our why is. Whether we're talking about the parenting or we're talking about another niche, and you're talking about a few that you're involved with. Let's just go from that scope of a parent, and maybe you can answer this as a mom. I mean, you've got 6 chances to get it right, and
Right?
right, you've got 6 chances, Marquelle.
Although it's their own choices, right? I get to teach, and they make their own choices.
Yes, that's it. That is so true. That is so true. But this is a fun question here, Marquelle. What motivates you as a parent?
So one of my whys is to help my children to learn and grow and develop their characteristics and their talents so that they can go out and share those things with their communities, with their families, with the world, perhaps. And when they have opportunities to learn and grow, that's going to strengthen who they are. That's going to help them to have that self-worth and that confidence and build their self-esteem. And really, that's being intentional. So that's intentional parenting. And I would say my first three children are a little bit different than my last three. My first three, I could tell them what to do, and they would say why, and I could say, well, because I said so, because that's the way I grew up, right? Yeah. And these last three kids, that's not the case. So with opportunities, I'm also a musician, and I've tried to have all of my children have the opportunity to learn and develop their talent in music, whether it's singing or guitar or piano or flute. And with my younger children, they've asked me, well, why do I have to do this? You're making me do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm actually not making you do this. This is an opportunity, and I'm actually intentionally parenting you. I'm giving you experiences to work with other mentors and teachers. And really with music, that helps to teach a level of self-mastery and discipline, as do sports, as do other interests, whether it's art or writing or whatever the interests are. When we are intentional and we help guide our children, that's going to help them to become who they are, to make a difference in the world and be good leaders and be good examples to other people that have confidence and things to contribute to the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Marquelle. And I love that. I don't care what parent I talk to, we're all going to say the same thing. I got some kids that are this and some kids that are that, and they're like polar opposites. And these do this and those do that, and you're like, wait, they all came from the same place. Like, what? How can they be so vastly different? And I think that's the beautiful part about raising families, is that we do get so many different personalities within the family unit and ways that people operate. And especially when it comes to kids, is some are just go with the flow, no problem, I got it. And then you got those that just question, like, what are we doing this for? Why do I have to do this? Right. Yes. And yeah, it was the same in our family when we got into the space of dual language learning. And our kids went to their elementary school was a dual immersion in English and Spanish. And nice. First day of kindergarten, how was your day? Well, fine, but I didn't understand a word the teacher said.
Right.
But eventually, they grew, right, and they learned what those things were by, as you called it, the opportunity to be, in contact with other mentors and learn from other people outside of our family unit, of which, that's a great way for them to experience life and grow.
Yes, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And I really like the dual immersion. That's a really great analogy and picture for all of us, because, some of the children, maybe kindergarten, they wouldn't be asking, but as they get older, they might think, well, why would you want me to do that? I can't understand anything they say. And I really think anything that we learn, we don't understand when we first started. We don't know how to do it. It's hard. Again, with music lessons, I tell parents, if you have a child when they're young and they're in music, you're going to have to be the backup. You're going to have to really say, okay, it's time to practice. Let's try this. And your teacher asked you to do this. And then when they get about 11 to 14, you're really going to have to, okay, we need to keep this going. Yes, this is harder because the music is a lot more complex. And if you can just help support them through that, they'll have a breakthrough. And then they really like it. They like the challenge. They like that, wow, I played that. That was beautiful. That was wonderful. Or that was really fun. And so as parents, we have to we do have to know our why. Why would I want my children in music? Why would I want my child in dual immersion? I wish I had that, actually. And how might that help them in their future? I know for me as a musician as well, it's helped me to be able to really persevere and navigate hard things. And when things got hard, I didn't just quit. It's like, okay, what can I do to figure this out and try this a different way? Okay, let's approach it this way now. Okay, this is going well. Now what can I do to help fine tune this? And so it's a lot of just adjusting and trying again.
Yeah, beautifully said. Marquelle, I love that. How often do we go through, in our day to day operations as a family, as I kind of look at it as the thirds. A third of what we do where it's going to be super easy and the kids are just going to go and do, and it's no big deal. A third of the time is going to take some pushing and encouragement, if you will, and then a third of it's going to be, hey, this is non-negotiable. I'm going to be all hands on deck here because this is super important. And this is part of that why, right? And whether it's music or art or another language or different things like that, the kids our kids didn't understand that this was really, really great for their brain development, to have language acquisition, to have music developing different parts of the brain even faster and a deeper level in the brain science end of that. And then to go, years later, like you're saying, they push through into middle school, and that was like, okay, well, is it really cool to do this anymore? Because it's all about the image, right? And then how ironic when they got to the working age, all three of their kids, they got into a workplace, and all three of them within the first week had a chance to practice on real customers that came in that didn't understand what the other associates were saying, and they just walked up and bam, rattled it right off, and boom, had full on conversations. And so it's funny how in that space of the thirds that we need to be really aware of our why as the parents, to be able to know where and when to be engaged in those thirds, and how much of our attention and pushing, if you will, in some areas to get them through those points of which they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's kind of boring, Mom. Why do I have to do this? Right? So another question I'd love to ask you this then, Marquelle, is how can understanding your why influence your parenting style?
Ooh, I love that. Well, we've done hard things, right? And so we know that, things are going to be hard and we're not going to like it. In fact, we want to give up. And if we keep working at it, that we're going to get to the other side. And sometimes we might develop a like for something, and sometimes it's just the skill. So as I was listening to you, these students going in and they actually got to apply it, got to practice talking, like, wow, all the skills that are developed right there, like being really scared, fearing you're going to fail, and you're trying and doing your best, and looking at, okay, wait, what did I accomplish? That was really hard, but I actually really did a pretty good job. And there's shared experiences there as well. And I'm going to kind of shift and bring it into the family unit with vacations or going on a family outing. Okay, as a parent, that is not easy, especially if you have some of those older teenagers. Why? I don't want to. I want to stay home. And that pushing, I think really a lot of the kids these days, they're like, you're forcing me. You can't make me do anything. Well, it's intentional because we are building character. We are building shared experiences. So don't let them get off with that you're forcing them. No, this is intentional parenting. This is important. And we teach our children these things. We know infants, they really can't do anything by themselves, right? So when we think about teenagers too, that prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed, for women until 25 and males until up to age 28. And so they don't really know what that experience might do for them. And so when it comes to vacations or family outings, that's where we as the parent, we come in as the non-negotiable. This is what we are doing, and you're going to come. And one thing that I think is really important to remember with that is that we're developing shared experiences. And so not everything's going to go well. There's going to be friction. There's going to probably be some moaning and complaining. And yet if we can highlight the wonderful times, the things that were really great, those things are what sustain us in our family unit and help to sustain us and will carry through in other areas of their life. And so I really think I've just kind of come to that conclusion. If we can really focus on the shared experiences to help us to develop our connection, as well as developing character and learning to do hard things. And being in a family is a hard thing a lot of times, just with that interaction and communication, right? And trying to get along.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love it. I love it. As you were talking, I'm cracking up because I'm having so many flashbacks to the attempts to go on family vacations from the perspective of when Jen and I were in charge of family vacations. Right now, we live in Southern California. I'm a stone's throw to the beach, and they're like, "Why do we have to go anywhere, bro? Because like we live right here by the beach, dude. Like, why can't we just like go to the beach?" Because it's like we want to get out, we want to explore, we want to see new things and gain different perspectives. You guys don't know what's out there because you haven't traveled. You don't know what's out and available to you. So let's go explore and have some fun. So one of the tricks that we learned to do is to put them in charge of vacation, and that's been an absolute kick in the pants because we're like, okay, listen, we now we're at the place where it's like we got to give everybody like 2 months, 3 months warning so they can request it off from work, right? And even if it's a weekend getaway or something like that, we go, okay, let's get out of here. Where do you guys want to go? Here's the weekend we're looking at. It's let's align it with a birthday or something, an event, right? And then we go, okay, so where do you guys want to go? And we have them brainstorm where they would like to go
Nice.
until they land together collectively and they're empowered to say, here's where we're going to go. Okay, great. And now we're going to break it up. And we got how many days going there? Okay, who's going to be in charge of lunch? Who's going to be in charge of dinner? And they're like, wait, what? You mean we got to cook? No, you get to choose where we get to eat. And the rest of us are going to be happy about it and all with glad hearts go and eat wherever it is that you want to eat. And you have to keep in mind that what you really, really want may not be what collectively. So keep the whole family in mind when you're choosing and have this be where we all get to decide and go, we all get our turn. We all get to decide where we're going to eat. And then then they're in charge of Googling activities. Okay, well, what's there to see? Is it historical? Is it this? Is it that? Yada, yada. And so we have a blast when we do that. And so when we get into our purpose and understand our why, the why is collectively that we are really being successful together and that we're there to uphold each other and we're there to empower each other and come into that understanding that in our parental styles, while it may differ from family to family, understanding that why helps keep us on track. And then when we get off track, helps us to get back on as quickly as possible because we just course correct back into our why and understanding of this is the path that we're going on and how do we get back on track.
Ooh, right there. How do you get back on track? So as parents, so this whole vacation thing, I love this idea. And that takes some braveness for the parents, right? And yeah, so we're helping to guide too, unless they're older, and then, working together. I think one of the most important things with families is being able to get back on track and knowing that we are all different, as much as it's always shocking because we are in the same family and we have all these different personalities and likes. And one of the things that we need to do as parents is to be able to ground ourselves. We need to be the ones that can be grounded and stable and have some self-mastery, being able to navigate those thoughts and emotions. Because if we can do that, it's going to ripple out and our kids may get off track and they'll be able to course correct themselves too, because they've seen us model that. Now, it is a process and it's always evolving and progressing. And sometimes there are triggers or things that catch you off guard that you weren't quite ready for. And that really exposes of how well your self-mastery is. Can you really default to your best self no matter what? And that's really where a lot of these neuroencoding techniques come in to help us to catch those thoughts and emotions, remember what we want, what our intention is, and knowing that we are going to make mistakes. And that's what we're here for, is to learn and grow. And we also have to have some compassion. I loved how you said, okay, this restaurant we're going to, this is their choice, and you're going to get your own choice. And we have to be compatible, and we have to adjust. And thankfully, restaurants now usually have something that everybody likes, pizza or burger or salad, so that you can have that adaptation wherever you go, which is nice. So, what are we doing? And knowing that I bring that up, not to judge. I'm not judging anybody. We're all where we're at. And I have a lot of things that I'm still working on. It's just, can we be aware? Can we notice when we're off? What can we do so we can course correct and make sure, okay, wait, how can I stay in alignment? Do I need to take a break for a minute? Do I need to bring some tools in to help me to get grounded in this moment? And do you have tools to do that? And if you don't, that's where you have the opportunity to learn and grow. It's that personal growth and development, which is empowering, because that gives us hope instead of feeling hopeless or like there is no hope because I keep messing up. No, there is hope. And then when things go well, another thing that's positive about getting back on track is celebrating. Woohoo! Okay, that was a little bumpy there. And look how well we're doing now, and way to navigate that. And if there are some things that we can point out that went well, we can celebrate that and we can highlight that. And then we are focusing more on the positive and fighting what we want instead of being stuck in the doom and gloom for the whole trip, right?
Absolutely. Oh, so well said. I love that. So here's an activity that we'd love to share with you guys to do this week as you're have listened to this, or you're catching a replay somewhere along the way. Here's a great activity to do is to reflect on a moment when you felt most aligned with your purpose as a parent. And write down some thoughts for yourself. Reflect on a moment when you felt most aligned with your purpose as a parent. And here's something to consider when you're doing that. A lot of times we will go to what we've done well as a parent, where success showed up, where something went perfectly. We're like, oh, I'm the best parent ever. Look at me. Maybe it was in a learning experience of which, like we were saying, you went off track and you went, holy moly, let's get back on track here. And that learning experience was when you felt most aligned with your purpose and got you back in. And it was enough to shake you up and say, listen, I'm going to commit to not doing those things anymore. And I'm shifting my power into my purpose and understanding my why as a parent. So as you take that activity and go have fun with it, man, we'd love to hear. This replay is going to be out and about all over the world for a long time. It's going to be on my YouTube channel at Energetic Life. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and go throw them in the comments there on what you discovered for yourself when you went through that. And Marquelle, I'd love for you to share maybe an experience that you had of which you felt most aligned in your purpose as a parent.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to touch for just a moment before I go into that. When we shift our power and we get back on track, we're going from victim to surviving to thriving. We are thriving, and that is stepping back into our power. And I'm going to share, I guess, so we have 3 adult children, I guess 4 now, if you consider the 18-year-old an adult, and then 2 that are younger. And so 2 of our oldest daughters, one just had a baby and one is expecting. And so we traveled together as a family to go to a baby shower. And I really felt that it was successful. Like, there wasn't any arguing. So, this is celebration, right? Even between my husband and I, we got along really well. Everything went well. We had a nice visit, with my daughter and her husband, and things went pretty smoothly. So I'm celebrating that. That's been a lot of years, specifically for my husband and I to practice, to have a good time and not have any contention come up. My daughters, they're pretty good at regulating themselves most of the time. And I feel like we kind of just went with the flow. We had a plan. We were going to go there, set up, enjoy our time at the shower, create memories, and, celebrate that new baby that's coming quickly, and be able to travel home. And I really feel like everything went pretty well. And so looking back 2 years previously, even a short trip like that, it probably would have been pretty bumpy, and there would have been some anger and hurt. And I really think that we've had a lot of progress. And also, I'm able to catch when I'm starting to get off, whether it's something I'm feeling, maybe somebody hurt my feelings, or what are the thoughts, and really ask, okay, what are those thoughts? What are the lies? What is true? Okay, what do I need to do to help me to reground, and taking responsibility for things versus blaming or, entering into contention when that is never going to help. So learning to regulate myself. And, as each of the other family members have also been working on that, I think that was a huge success.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
What a great representation of really putting the intention into what you're doing, because the end result or the end product is that important. And I love that, because it's so easy for us to, as soon as someone's mouth starts opening, we go right into defensive mode. And we're not listening to what they're saying. We're just getting ready to argue. And that's a tough spot to be in. And when I can just sit back and go, okay, well, what is my part in this? Why am I getting so reactive on what they're saying? Was it directed at me? Was it them? Is there something going on with them? So that's we'll come back to the communication workshop. How's that?
Sounds
Because
great.
I see it
Yeah.
leading up into that direction for sure. Because that's so easy for us to do.
One other thing that I wanted to share with that, because also I think about 3 weeks previous, we went to go see our other daughter's baby, and it was all the family was there, and it was really, really great. And I think one thing too that's a success, and of course we're still working on this, is coming together and supporting one another. Mm-hmm. And cheering one another along. And if somebody's struggling, reaching out, hey, what can I do for you? And really, that really builds a lot of connection and trust. And I think that was just 2 good successes with family interactions. Yeah. And of course, we're all working on our own personal growth and development, and we all have that why. Why is my family important? And that we want that connection and support to know that we can reach out if we're really struggling and have somebody to fall back on. And so it is worth cultivating those connections. And if there has been defensiveness and things where there's been a lot of hurt, what can you do to help rebuild that trust and rebuild those connections? Because really and truly, bottom line is, our families are going to be together with us, and we want to be able to have them to reach out and rely on whenever we need. So it is worth it. And that is my why. It is worth it. Even though this is really hard, it's worth it, because we really do, in the long run, want that love and support and trust from each of our family members.
Yeah. So well said. You guys, Energetic Life family, you guys know a little bit about, our story here with our family. And as you were saying that, Marquelle, it just brought back, early May was our oldest son's celebration of 1 year sobriety, and finally kicking drugs and alcohol addiction. And when we came together for that celebratory dinner at a restaurant, while it was awkward at times and there were things that surfaced, we've been saying for years, it's family is everything. If you don't have family, you got nothing. And we are here together, and we're gonna, no matter how hard this gets, we're gonna push through. And mind you, now all our entire family, we're all have gone through PTSD from one shape or form for another. So I'm saying this because if you might be out there thinking, well, this sounds really great for you guys who seem like you got it all together. Listen, we don't have it all together. We are just aware enough and aligning what we're thinking, what we're feeling with our purpose, and intentionally staying in that lane. And when we get off track, we get back on as quickly as I can. And as Markelle's been saying, it's worth it. Get back on track. It's worth it. It might be hard right now, but it's worth it. Stay in there, stay in it to win it as a family. Because now that we're coming, now we're at the place now where it's like, hey, can I come home and, for the weekend? You guys do anything? Can my girlfriend and I come home, come chill out for the weekend? Yeah, dude, come on down. I'll get the barbecue on. We'll do a big barbecue, and it'll be really great. And we're back at the place now where we were so estranged for so long, and everybody all off in their own different worlds, healing, that this unit's coming back together again, and we're really feeling that reconnection for the first time in like 10 years. So, for you guys out there that are going through it, you're knee deep in it. Stay in it. Stay in it as hard as it is. Stay with it, because it's going to come back around, and you will get to the other side. 10 years is a long time. I didn't think that we were going to make it through, but we did, and it was worth it.
And I agree. And I think we're about 12 to 13 years on things that we were working through that really felt so impossible, like it was never going to get better. And it was pretty dismal and very, very hard. And my why was what kept me in the game.
Yeah.
It really was.
Mm-hmm.
And how important family was to me. And the other thing that, I had observed other people who just kind of took this direction and did everything against what they'd ever believed. I mean, their life was more miserable. And I thought, oh my goodness, if they thought it was bad then, it got really bad. And it was really sad. It was really sad. And so it's rocky. It's rough. If you can stay in it, if anything, now that we're showing these glimmers of light and where we're having these moments, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of pain. I hope that we can give you the hope to stay in the game, that there are tools and resources. And if you don't know how to do what you want to do or accomplish what you want, reach out, keep seeking, because you're going to find where you can find that help and that hope, and that you don't have to do it alone. And
Sure.
And it is worth it.
Yeah, thanks, Marquelle. And of course, obviously, you guys know that Marquelle and I are here to support you any way that we that we can, and this is what we do, and the whys behind it. So thanks, Marquelle, for jumping into that. I'd love to transition now, if we can, into, now we've understand our why, and potentially what that means to our family and to ourselves. Let's take it into what I call the principles or the standards that we rise to, not rule by. And I'm going to go back to that idea of the thirds. Some things super easy, some things that need pushing, some things that are really non-negotiable, and that we come to that understanding of why we're saying this is absolutely boom, this is where it needs to be. You might not understand it right now, but I need you to trust me. And so getting into standards we rise to, not rule by. Let's have some fun with that. So let's go into this first question here, if we will, Marquelle. Is what core principles guide your parenting?
So I'm just going to bring this in. My core principles really are anchored in Jesus Christ. So religion is a huge core to who I am and what our family is founded on. And I'm really grateful for God in my life. I see miracles and tender mercies. Yeah. Being honest, being loyal, trying our best. If we start something, we don't just say when it gets hard, oh, I'm not doing that. We finish what our commitment was. And sometimes we have to miss out. I know a few years ago, my kids were in a musical, and they sign up, they try out, they sign the paper, they commit. And so then here I am, the backup. And one of my daughters was like, oh my heck, I'm going to miss this. Like, they changed the date. And she had this commitment. And I did look like the bad guy, although it was a boundary. So I like to bring in this, I love that, standard that we rise to and not rule by. That rule by is that force. You do what I say. And that really doesn't get us anywhere. That's about control. And so I've worked on a lot of years to shift from that. I think that's, changing old patterns into things that are better. And also, and I lost my train of thought right there, but also allowing, I remember, it's boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries. So like this musical that my daughter tried out for, and she wanted, and she made great rules. And then, with these choices, well, we've already committed to this. That was a boundary. Like, we're loyal to, I said I would do this, and I'm going to follow through because the whole cast is depending on that. There isn't a backup. You are the cast. And so I think a great thing for a great core value that I've been learning and fine tuning are boundaries. And boundaries are not a punishment. They're to keep us safe. And so a lot of these things, when we're learning things, they're basic things to keep us safe. And that even goes to, characteristics and values, and I know people get caught into drugs and addictions. Yeah. And as an intentional parent, we're teaching, we really want to avoid that, because that keeps us safe. And this day and age, there are horrible drugs out there that I've known two people. Well, one was my cousin, and one was one of my good friends. It was her daughter's boyfriend. And, they just were doing recreational drugs that were laced with that fentanyl, and it killed them. So I have really shared with my children, not that it's been a problem. I said, if any time in the history of the world, you would want to avoid that at all costs, because you just never know when it could be. And it's not worth taking that risk. And so I know there's a lot of things involved with that. Boundaries keep us safe. And so that's a huge part of my core values, is how can we create safety for ourselves? And yes, we're going to make mistakes. How can we learn from that? Adjust, course correct, realign, and we're going to try again, right? And we're going to celebrate our wins along the way, because even at my age, even at my grandparents' age, when they were in their 90s, they were still learning and growing and having to persevere through really hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great, Marquelle. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I really love the boundaries concept here. And as we're looking at those growth transitions, if you will, of the thirds, and how much of my boundaries really are my arms that I've wrapped around them in those first few years within that first third of life, those boundaries are just really, really tight, right? Because they're young and they're babies and they're toddlers and they don't understand and they don't know. And we're trying to guide and model, and everything is repetition and over and teaching and teaching and teaching with them. And then as they get older and they're going into that middle third, I look at that as that older elementary into the middle school experience. And then the other third is kind of that teen, young adult, and on in life. That the boundaries of the principles of which we set as standards are always there. And I like to look at myself as how do I impact that in their lives in these different stage transitions? Because as they get through middle school, I look back on all three of them in elementary, and it was the discussions of, well, what do you want? How do you want to handle this? What does this look like? And we empowered our kids at an early age to stand up for themselves, to stand in principles, to stand in values, to know their own boundaries and what's acceptable and not acceptable to them. So that when they got out into the real world, they were not followers, they were leaders of themselves and modeled those behaviors in front of and with their friends. And many a times it worked really fabulous. Other times it was very unpopular and it was hard in sometimes. And when they came home and shared that, it was celebration in our house. Because you know what? If they're not happy for you for setting your boundaries, they may not be your friends. And so if you now have decided, what it is that's so important to you in your core values and your standards, that you will rise to those standards. You will not default to something less because somebody else isn't living by standards in their life. And that was just celebrations, on multiple occasions with all of our kids and sometimes they got in some really, really messy situations. But what they learned from that and came out of that is, here's where my boundaries are. I mean, this just happened two, not even 3 weeks ago, with our middle son, who was in a really great job that he just absolutely loved, but could not take the boss who was just didn't know how to lead and just very demeaning to the employees and he was that one that ruled by and
Mhm.
and so finally he just had enough and was like, listen, this isn't right. And the guy said, well, if you don't like it, you can walk. And Royce did a turn around and walked right out the store and said, see you later, bye. Because why? I have my boundaries. I have my set boundaries of which I use to guide my life. I will not bend those for you and your situation. And we celebrated. We were like, I just said, son, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you for standing up and sticking to what you know is right for you and your values and your systems. And yes, some of those come from our belief system, much like yours, Marquelle. And
Yeah.
what do we live by? Who was our model for standards that we are setting to live our lives by?
Mm.
And so when we're able to take those, it just makes our purpose and our why so much clearer. And so now we have this whole set of boundaries of which we live by, and that's the standard.
I love that. Live by standing in your truth. And as you were talking about, like, how do we instill that, from little into elementary, into high school, into college and beyond? And I really think we have to establish trust.
Yeah.
And I really think being authentic and vulnerable. So, sadly, when you grow up, that bubble is burst that, we're going to be perfect when we're parents. And we're not, right? And so it's that authenticity and that vulnerability. And when we make a mistake, say, I'm so sorry. Will you forgive me? This is what I did wrong, and this is what I'm going to do to make that better.
Yeah.
And then bringing in, thank you, for being patient while I am learning and growing, and I love you. Being authentic and vulnerable, that takes courage.
Mhm.
And when we can do that, we can stand in our truth. We can stay true to those values and those core beliefs. And we can, I love how you said, raise that standard, and hopefully our friends will come up to that standard. And if not, I have a boundary and I'm not going to stoop to that because that's not safe for me. This is who I am. This is what I believe. And this is what I'm doing. And when we do that, that is true leadership. We are leading by example and staying true to who we are and what we believe. Otherwise, if we don't, we're betraying ourselves, right? And that's a whole nother thing. So learning to be authentic and vulnerable. And as parents, if we can help cultivate that, if you're learning it yourself, keep practicing. I'm still working on that. And your children will learn that, and they'll learn from you making the mistake. And okay, I'm going to do that better. And they'll see you get better. They'll see you struggling with trying to get better and trying different things. And what a huge example that is for them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I love standing in authenticity. It is so important because I the more vulnerable and honest that I can be with them, the more they're going to learn, the more they're going to understand on how to use it for them. So parents, families out there, you guys are watching this and listening to this. If I want my kids to change the behaviors, the outcomes that they have going on, guess who needs to change first? Me, 100%. I cannot expect them to do it unless I do it. And so, as a family success coach, parents are like, "Wait a minute, we're hiring you to work with our kids." I say, "Yeah," and as a bonus, we get to work with you too as the parents because you can't expect them to change if you're not willing to change. You can't expect them to live by standards if you're not willing to live by standards. That's hypocrisy. And we're not going to stand in that. That's not authentic. That's fake. That's fake news. And so we don't want to stand in that fake of what we're seeing in society. We want to stand in truth, rooted in that authenticity. And as hard as it is for us at our age, parents, and the things that we've gone through, because we're dragging baggage, and it's time to let that stuff go
Yeah. Can
and to
I
start new and start fresh and step into new.
can I be vulnerable with a story?
Please, please.
So one thing that I have been finding is if I'm wanting something to change, if I can work on changing myself, and again, it goes back to that self-mastery, making sure that I can stay in alignment with my values, that there's this ripple effect. It is the coolest thing. And like I said, it's taken me a lot of years that I've been working on this. And this has been probably about 4 years now when my youngest was 8 and she was pushing my buttons day after day. Ooh, and I was doing pretty good, but I wasn't really, addressing the thoughts and the emotions and creating a plan of what I was going to do to stay in alignment with my values. And so I broke one day and I yelled at her. Probably said something that wasn't very nice and not very helpful either. So then she was even more upset. And then I felt really upset. So then I have to deal with my guilt and shame and then clean up the mess with her. And so because I had tools and I actually did act outside of my values in that moment, I created a plan. Okay, when is that first trigger when I'm really starting to feel the bubbling up of emotions? And then what are the thoughts? What are the lies? She deserves to be yelled at, which are all lies. She doesn't deserve that. And at 8 years old, I also was like, okay, she needs something. How can I meet that throughout the day, earlier in the day? So at dinner time, that's not coming out. But I had to have a plan for me. And when she was pushing those buttons and I was starting to feel those emotions, my plan was I'm going to stop because it was around dinner time and I was making dinner. I'm going to put the things down. I'm going to walk out the door and I'm going to go for a walk. Why do I want to be a good parent? Why is this important to me? Why don't I want to yell? Well, actually, I do want to yell, I might say. Oh, no, you don't. That doesn't help. Okay, what is your why? Why do you fight to stay in alignment with your values, stay regulated, stay in control of myself until I calm down? So day 1, I did that. And she's like, no, Mom. I said, I've got to take a time out. I've got to go take a break. I've got to calm down. Day 2, I get ready to walk out. No, I'll stop. And I said, I know you're going to stop. And I've still got to go calm down because I want to be a good mom. And I'm not feeling like I'm going to be a good mom right now. And she's like, no. Day 3, she started into it. And I'm like, okay, do I need to go take a break? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, what do you need? And guess what? She actually shifted herself. Then, now we're fast forward. And if she is feeling dysregulated and off and upset and mad, whatever emotions, okay, it is a little bit fun to watch because although I'm sad that she's in that place, but she'll say, I'm so mad. I'm going to my room to calm down. And I didn't even have to say anything. She just decided, okay, I'm dysregulated and I need to go do what I need to calm down. And I just usually say, okay, that's great. Let me know if you need anything, just so that she knows I'm there too. And so me taking responsibility for myself rippled out, and I really didn't even have to say a whole lot, which is so amazing. It's kind of that hidden blessing and secret with all of that.
Oh, thank you, Marquelle. What a great story on just what we were saying. If I'm going to model that behavior, my kids are going to see that, hear that, feel that, and they're going to go and do that as well for them. So I want to leave you guys with a question here to take to your families is create a family outline of your principles and how you are going to uphold them. Or you could say establish your core family values and how you're going to uphold them and write them down and have that discussion with your kids and then make a plan of which like this when I feel this then I'm going to do that when I think this then I'm going to do that to bring myself back into my alignment. This has been so great, Marquelle. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight on the show. It was absolutely delightful to have you. Can you please tell the viewers where we can find you on social media or websites?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure to be here. And my website is marquellebrown.com. And my Facebook is also Marquelle Brown, or Instagram is at Marquelle Brown. So, feel free to reach out. I do offer a complimentary session if you'd like to talk more and navigate, the things that seem to be impossible to help you create a plan to move towards what is possible and really enjoying life and experiencing joy in your life.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And you guys know where to find me, Energetic Life Now, on all the social media feeds. And come join my private Facebook group, Empowered Family Network. Come join us there for all the fun. This show today can be also heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check it out at spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.